At an old library, 3 teenagers, Leo, Aria, and Finn, were looking for clues about the whereabouts of their missing uncle. They found an ancient book that was bound in metal. When Finn opened it, he noticed that one of the pages was a map and it contained a mysterious message. It read, "Where the coral reef meets the sunken sun, the lost city lies sleeping beneath the waves, waiting for heroes to awaken." The map had markings that indicated where the 3 of them could meet up with their uncle's submarine. With a shiver of excitement, they jumped into the yellow sub and sped towards the coordinates marked on the mysterious map. Soon they reached a spot where the ocean around them glowed with an otherworldly light. They parked the submarine nearby and put on some scuba gear. Then they started to swim deeper and deeper down into the unknown. As they descended, strange glowing fish seemed to appear out of nowhere, guiding their path through a huge underwater cave. At the end of the cave, they found an entrance to what looked like an enormous city made of stone. 2 stone statues stood guard over the opening, but they didn't seem to care that someone was passing by. When Leo stepped through the doorway, he felt the water around him suddenly begin to shimmer. Looking back, he saw that the entrance had vanished. Suddenly, he heard a loud crack, and the ground began to shake. Quickly, he turned to see if his friends were okay, but they had disappeared. Panicked, he searched the area, calling out their names, when suddenly the ground cracked again, causing him to fall forward. When he woke up, he realized he was lying on a street made of pure gold. All around him were magnificent floating buildings made of sparkling crystal, each connected to one another by rope bridges. He was in the middle of the most spectacular city he'd ever seen. Was this the legendary lost city of Auralis? Suddenly, a woman appeared beside him. She introduced herself as Lyria, an official from the city. She explained that Auralis had been hidden beneath the ocean for many years, protected by powerful magic. But now the city's magic was fading fast. Without its power, the city would collapse and everyone in it would be lost forever. She told Leo that they needed to retrieve the eternal crystal, the heart of Auralis, which had been stolen long ago by an evil sorcerer. If they could bring the crystal back, the city's magic would be restored and everyone would be saved. But there was one problem. Nobody knew where the crystal was or even if it still existed. Determined to help, Leo asked how he could assist them. Suddenly, he felt a tug on his backpack. Startled, he looked back to see that Aria and Finn had somehow materialized right next to him. Relieved, he rushed over and hugged them both. Then the 3 friends set off to find the lost crystal and save the city. Their first stop was the Grand Library, where ancient scrolls and long-forgotten texts were kept safe. There, Arya used her knowledge of history and languages to translate an ancient text that spoke of a prophecy. It foretold of 3 young heroes who would come to rescue the city. But just as she finished translating the final part of the prophecy, a loud crash echoed through the library. Startled, they turned to see a group of heavily armed soldiers led by a tall, imposing man. The leader introduced himself as Dr. Magnus Vex, a treasure hunter who had spent years searching for the lost city of Auralis. He revealed that he had followed the same map as Leo and his friends and was hot on their trail. Magnus wanted to steal the city's power for himself so that he could become rich and famous beyond his wildest dreams. But first, he had to find the eternal crystal. Realizing that Magnus and his men were much stronger than the 3 of them, Leo knew they had to escape. The trio fled through the twisting corridors of the library, pursued by Magnus and his men. Finally, they burst out onto a rooftop garden and hid behind some large statues. Taking a moment to catch their breath, they formulated a plan. Finn used his quick thinking and charm to distract Magnus, while Leo and Arya snuck away. Sneaking through the city, they managed to avoid detection and regrouped at the Grand Temple, hoping to find more answers there. Inside, they discovered a vast chamber filled with all kinds of magical artifacts. Suddenly, the ground began to shake, and the walls started to crumble. They had barely escaped in time. The entire temple was collapsing. As the dust settled, they noticed a small opening that had been concealed behind a bookshelf. Peeking inside, they saw a dark tunnel that extended deep into the ground. With no other options, they crawled through the tunnel. On the other side, they found themselves in a huge cavern filled with all kinds of exotic plants and flowers. Suddenly, a beautiful woman appeared before them. She introduced herself as Luna and explained that she was the guardian of the lost city's botanical gardens. She revealed that Magnus had destroyed part of the city in his search for the eternal crystal. She also warned them that he was close behind and urged them to hurry. Following her directions, they traveled deeper into the gardens until they came across a shimmering portal. Standing before it, Luna told them that it was a gateway to the astral plane, the very heart of the city's magic. To reach the crystal, they would have to pass through the portal and enter the dream world. Taking a deep breath, they stepped into the swirling vortex. On the other side, they found themselves in a breathtaking landscape of floating islands and swirling clouds. Ahead of them lay a huge crystal pyramid that seemed to pulse with energy, but as they approached, they saw that it was surrounded by a powerful energy field. Suddenly, a booming voice echoed around them. "Who dares disturb the slumber of Auralis?" Startled, they turned to see a huge stone guardian. It blocked their path to the pyramid. The guardian demanded that they answer 3 riddles correctly if they wished to pass. And so Leo stepped forward and began to speak. With quick thinking and logic, they managed to answer all 3 riddles correctly. Impressed, the guardian stepped aside, allowing them to approach the crystal pyramid. Finally, they were within reach of the eternal crystal, but as Leo reached out to touch it, a familiar laugh echoed around them. Turning, they saw that Magnus had somehow managed to track them down. He revealed that he had stolen the city's magic long ago and used it to enhance his own powers. Now he planned to drain the very life force from Auralis to become immortal. With a surge of anger, Leo challenged Magnus, and a fierce battle ensued. Magnus unleashed bolts of dark energy, but Leo and his friends dodged out of the way. Working together, they managed to weaken him, and Leo seized the opportunity to strike the final blow. With Magnus defeated, the eternal crystal began to glow brightly. Its power surged through Leo's body, and he felt a surge of strength and energy. He reached out and touched the crystal to his forehead, and suddenly he knew exactly where the city's remaining power lay. Using the crystal's guidance, they flew to the astral plane's core, where they found the last of Auralis's power sources. With the eternal crystal in hand, they returned to the real world and placed it on an altar at the center of the city. As the crystal was restored, the city's magic began to flow through the streets once more. Buildings rose from the ground. Shimmering crystals reached for the sky, and golden palaces twinkled like stars. Auralis was saved. As the citizens of Auralis celebrated their rescue, Leora approached Leo and his friends. She revealed that they had been given a secret key to return to the city whenever they needed. And with that, the 3 friends said their goodbyes and returned home. But as they parked the submarine, they couldn't help but wonder what other adventures awaited them in the lost city of Auralis. The adventure isn't over yet.